All right, we're live here from New York City, otherwise known as the Big Apple, with my good friend Taylor Harden. Taylor, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Harrison.
I'm really excited about that. I know we've been talking about doing this for a while, and hopefully we'll just allow others to kind of get an insight into a lot of private conversations we've had, over the years, and encourage them to pursue their goals and passions and fulfill their dreams, which is the whole point of this podcast.
That's right.
So if you wouldn't mind telling everybody, what are you up to these days in New York?
Right. Yeah, so I live in New York City. I've been here for 3 years, and I was born and raised in Macon, Georgia, and small town kid, but always had a big time vision. And so a couple years after college, I moved to New York to pursue modeling, and I've been doing that for 3 years, and it's been a grind. There's been a lot of ups and downs, but I've gotten to the place where I do modeling full time now, and the dream is to become a movie star. I'm going to be an actor, so that's where I'm at right now.
That's awesome. And, everybody's got a dream in life, and I think it's important to follow it. And it's important to, I think, be honest with yourself and others about it. And a lot of people, unfortunately, I think are a little too embarrassed or afraid of what other people are going to think to just come out and say something like that. Right. So I think that's great. So most people in Atlanta, including myself, you hear someone's modeling, you have no idea what that entails. So if you could kind of talk the audience through, and myself, what exactly does your job entail? I mean, who are the main clients you're working for? What does your day-to-day look like when you're on, a shoot? Right. And kind of walk me through that.
Yeah, so, I mean, my main clients that I work for right now, the most consistent is Polo Ralph Lauren, which has been a dream of mine. I remember walking into a mall in Georgia when I was like, I don't know, 13, 14, 15, and there was this advertisement in Belk's. I don't know if y'all know about Belk's.
Belk Bowl.
Yeah, the Belk Bowl. It's a big retail in the South, retail store, kind of like Macy's. But I walked in and I was looking at this advertisement, and it was a Ralph Lauren ad, and it was just these dudes on a boat, and they were sailing. They had all the Polo Ralph Lauren gear, and I literally looked at that picture at 14, and I was like, I'm going to do that one day. I'm going to be in an advertisement like that. And so coming into modeling, the number one brand that I wanted to work for was Ralph Lauren. And so that's now, all these years later, they're one of my main clients, and I shoot for them often. And I work for other brands like Vineyard Vines, Peter Millar, for all you golfers out there. I'm sure you got.
I'm a big Peter Millar guy. Yeah.
Or your dad's like it. It's a big golf brand.
I think So that's the. I know I've seen you on Instagram. And I think Peter Millar is probably the number one. Yeah. In polo probably as well.
Yeah. So Timberland.
Boots. Right.
Yeah. I've done some shoes for them. I've done clothes for them. I've done. Let's see, Vineyard Vines. I don't know if I said that one yet.
Yeah.
Southern Tide, shot with them. I've worked with all kinds of I've done like Hibbett Sports. I don't know if y'all know.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
One of my other.
That's like local in the South, right?
Yeah, that's
based
a big,
Alabama
Southern brand.
Florida or something.
Another brand I've shot for is a brand called Vince Camuto. They're kind of in between like a Gucci or a Prada and maybe like a Tommy Hilfiger, you know what I mean? They're a little bit more fashion, but they're not quite Gucci and Prada. That's been a good brand for me. I don't even know, one of my main clients as well is this new brand called Rhone. So they're positioning themselves as like the Lululemon for men, and I've actually been able to become the face of their company. And that's been a great. I shot in Iceland, in 2019. Got to spend 6 or 7 days out there just shooting in nature and mountains, and it was pretty cool.
How was Iceland, by the way?
Iceland's pretty. Dude, it's an interesting place. There's no mosquitoes, there's no bugs.
Yeah.
Because it's so cold there, so you really don't get to actually
I mean, it's apparently beautiful, right?
Yeah, it's
like
beautiful.
mountains.
It's very beautiful, but
lagoons.
obviously it's Iceland. You know, it's cold. So, but it's beautiful, man. I didn't get to go when the Northern Lights were there.
Yeah.
So yeah, but amazing. We hiked mountains. We forded rivers. We camped out. We got to see some nature. There's not a lot of wildlife there either, just because the habitat doesn't support like a vibrant ecosystem. So yeah, but it was cool. But to get your question, modeling. So essentially how it works is modeling is comprised of agencies, and the agencies represent the models. So as a model, you would go and interview at a few different agencies. So let's say there's 4 different ones. You'd walk in, they'd look at you, take some pictures, ask you some questions, and then they would decide whether they would want you to be in their agency or not. So for me, like when I came up here, I had interviews with I think 3 or 4 big agencies, and only one accepted me.
Yeah.
So.
And to be clear, I mean, you're really not working for them. I mean, you're really self-employed.
Yeah,
they're just getting a cut of what you're making.
You hire them.
Very similar to y'all that do real estate or something. It's like being under a brokerage,
yeah,
right?
It's like being a contractor, and you pay your own taxes, and it's so you hire them. But the way modeling works is, so in New York, I can only have one agency, and I'm exclusive to that agency. But if I wanted to, I could move to Los Angeles and get a totally different agency that has no ties, no connections to my one in New York, and I could wind up getting paid by both agencies.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And same with Miami and Europe as well. I could go to Milan, London, Paris.
So wouldn't it benefit? I mean, I realize the kind of travel and stress-wise, like getting booked on something, if you're supposed to be based out of LA and you're in New York, can kind of be difficult. But I mean, you think that most models would be listed with multiple different agencies in different cities just because you have a lot more opportunities.
Definitely.
Possibly.
Definitely. That, it's kind of a strategy, because you just think about it from a business perspective. Like, obviously, if you're represented by more agencies in more markets, then you have more of a chance of getting work. You have more opportunities.
Yeah.
The problem is that if I spread myself too thin, just like a contractor who gets too many clients.
Yeah.
They can't equally serve all of those clients. So you could wind up with a situation where you're spread too thin, and now no one wants to book you.
Yeah, you kind of tick people off if they're trying to. Yeah.
You're in London now doing this job, and then they're like, hey, we want you to come back here for this, and you say, oh, that's not enough money.
Yeah.
For me to come back, or it could be a situation where. You get so busy in a market where I say I moved to London. Well, New York keeps calling me.
Yeah.
And going, hey, Taylor, we've got some good stuff for you here. But I'm like, no, I'm going to stay here and work this market. Well, by the time I get back to New York, it might have all dried up, and they might just be fed up and like, I don't even want to use this kid anymore. He's, we wasted all this effort on him, and he just stayed out in Europe. So you really do have to. You have to navigate and control where you want to put the bulk of your effort and energy.
Yeah.
In order to build that relationship and that rapport with that agent that's going to want to go and book you on that big campaign or want to put you out there.
Yeah. No, it totally makes sense. Yeah. So if you can walk me through, I know with modeling, your brand is a big deal, and like kind of sculpting your image towards certain companies, that are going to want to hire you and everything. So can you kind of walk me through your brand and how I know Instagram's big.
Right.
You were kind of discussing that yesterday when we were talking, and kind of walk me through that process and how you brand yourself.
Yeah. So, a good way to explain it is to explain it in terms of perception and image. So this industry that I'm in is all about image.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is, I'm sure that's kind of tough.
Right.
It's got its pros. You're out there, everyone's seeing you, but at times they can be tough.
Right. Yeah, it can be difficult, but the thing about me is, and a lot of people who start out, when you first start out as a model, you don't have an image.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're not an icon.
Yeah.
You know, you're not Brad Pitt.
You're not Giselle.
Yeah,
You're not Giselle until you're Giselle,
you're
right?
not
Yeah.
Giselle. So then what do you do if you don't have an image? Well, then you control the perception, and your perception is reality.
Yeah.
You know, like in the short run. So if you don't have an image yet, meaning you don't have notoriety, you don't just walk into a casting and people know who you are, then you control the perception. So the perception is just the story that you tell
Yeah.
people. And so for me and my agents, the story I'm telling is, listen, guys, like, hey, this guy's not famous yet. He doesn't have an image, but you're going to perceive him as someone who is high end.
Yeah.
You're going to perceive him as someone who is refined.
Yeah.
And so that's why I used to have very long hair, and it was like surfer vibe, like, you know, skater, hair down to my shoulders, and it was a much more casual look.
Yeah.
And now I've cut it off, as you can see if you're on the podcast.
A little more professional now, right? Yeah.
It's a little more professional. So that means I'm selling to clients who are a little bit more professional.
Yeah.
Who have more professional customers.
Yeah.
So on my Instagram, you know, the other thing that I am on my business account, my business page on Instagram, the other thing I'm controlling the narrative of my perception is sort of like a lure. So it would essentially, like, I'm creating a fantasy with my Instagram page.
Yeah.
About who I really am.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm seeing if that is going to be able to sell.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you're up to 13K followers, so I think you're doing pretty good.
Baby, let's get it.
If y'all don't already follow them, give them a follow.
Yeah. But it's cool, you know. It's been fun to kind of play around. And when I had the long hair, for example, I was much more loose. You know, I was crazy and doing backflips and jumping off cliffs and screaming and yelling in my Instagram stories, which you can still see in my highlights. But now that I've cut my hair and my agency's changed my perception a little bit, you know, I'm less emotive with my face. I'm a little bit more like stoic.
Yeah.
A little bit more serious. And we're just going to see how it goes. But, you know, at the end of the day, like, what I keep longing for is just authenticity. Like, I'm doing this stuff, and I'm like, man, I don't even – I want to just give it all up. I want to just let go of this perception and just be who I really am.
Yeah.
And see how that plays out. But when I switched agencies like 6 or 8 months ago, I told my agent, I was like, hey, dude, I'm going to go all in. Like, whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do it. I believe in you. I believe in your expertise. I'm going to follow you. I'm going to do this thing your way. And so that's what I'm doing right now. And we'll see how it goes.
I think I'm really glad you brought that kind of battle up, because it's a lot of, I mean, really what you're in is the entertainment, in a way, industry, or just, you know, public image, and you read all these articles. I don't know if you've seen that or you watch these videos. Like Taylor Swift had the documentary came out about how she struggled for like years when she first got in the music industry, how they were telling her, you need to act a certain way, you need to stay out of politics, you need to do this and this. Lady Gaga, I mean, a lot of celebrities, it's really just with any industry. I feel like you, to a certain extent, I mean, you want to be authentic. In the words of Matthew McConaughey, you know, don't do anything that's going to antagonize your soul, so to speak. Right. But to a certain extent, you've got to kind of play the game until you are, you know, Giselle or Tom Brady or Lady Gaga, until you have the power to really kind of do whatever you want and really be authentic and be you.
That's a great point. And because kind of what you're touching at is this idea that you need to earn your right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, I'm all about that. Like, I'm all about like doing things the right way and doing things the hard way. And, you know, I believe that in life, you don't get what you want. You don't even really get what you need.
Yeah.
In life. You get what you deserve.
Yeah.
And, you know, if that's it, man, like, so then go and become someone who deserves it.
Yeah.
Don't complain. I'm sitting here. Oh, I just want to be authentic. No, maybe
Yeah.
maybe I should just shut up and
Well,
get to a place where I deserve it, earn it.
yeah. Well, I think as long as you're not going against your morals and
Right.
and
Exactly.
antagonizing your soul, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
I think you're on the right road there.
Yeah, and it's like as a celebrity, if you're wanting to get your message out there and you're wanting to, share your opinion on politics, that's kind of a selfish thing. It's like, who are you to think that? I don't know. Well, that aside, doing that will just be a catharsis for you.
Yeah.
Are you really doing it because you want to serve others and you want to help others and your opinion is important? Yes, I'm sure there's a piece of that but make sure that it's not more about just the fact that you want to get this out.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of where I'm like, I just want to be myself. Well, maybe I should sacrifice that for a short time so that I can serve more people.
Yeah.
So that I can have a platform, so that I can share my opinion and it not fall and it be weighty, it be taken seriously.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
And I think, going back to you touching on your brand and everything, I mean, that's across every industry. I'm in commercial real estate, I'm a broker. I mean, there's certain brokers that are only going to take Class A brand new apartment buildings that they're going to sell, and they won't take, anything built after 1990 or 2000 because they don't want to be viewed as like kind of BC class guys.
I get that.
And same with actors and everything. So it's really interesting. I mean, obviously, you've probably worked with your agents on the brand and where you are going, and it's just interesting insight into that. And hopefully in 5 years you'll be at a point where everybody wants you, so you don't even have to. You can just do whatever you want to do.
That's right.
So one thing I wanted to really focus on, and I think is important, is kind of walk me through the process and the mindset that you had to develop to really make this jump. Because, I mean, you talked about it earlier, you graduated from college, but you didn't straight, right off the bat go into this.
Right.
I mean, you had a great corporate, high-paying job with Textron, right, in Dallas?
Yeah, 30,000 plus employee company.
So kind of walk me through. I mean, I think everybody naturally in life, and we've had a lot of good conversations about this, you want to fit in.
Yeah, right.
And you want to, you want to be liked. You want to fit in with everybody you're around. And as a result, you kind of sacrifice who you are when you do that. And I think, Donald Trump, a lot of people don't like him, but makes a great point. Outsiders always change the world. And being an outsider, you should never try to be like everybody else because you're not like everybody else. Right. So walk me through kind of that process and post-college, because, it was just, you jumped around a couple jobs and, walk me through that.
Yeah. So Harris and I were in the same fraternity in college. So we were both at the University of Georgia, #1 party school in the nation. 2 of the 4 years that we were there, we were at a top fraternity on campus who we threw the biggest parties, the most expensive parties. As far as college experience goes, we had it all. You know what I mean? And
on the outside,
yeah. And so the dream for something more, I think it started when I was young, but it was especially when I came to college and got into our fraternity. Everybody was doing the same exact thing. Everybody was wearing the same clothes. They were talking the same way. They were behaving the same way. They were drinking the same thing. They were, everything was, they had the same cars. They had the same, we were watching the same shows. We were eating the same food. Everybody was doing the same damn thing. And I was like,
you kind of get wrapped. It's kind of, you get wrapped in tunnel, everybody's in the same tunnel together.
And for me, the experience was, in college, I was actually going against everything that I was raised to believe. And so there was this dual thing where everybody was doing the same thing, and then I was doing all of these things, as you put it, that were antagonizing my soul.
Yeah.
And out of that was just, I guess you could call it, it was adversity, but it was misery.
Yeah.
I remember times, going out to the bars, I remember sophomore year, we were living in the fraternity house, and I'd go out to the bars and get drunk, and I wasn't 21, I was going out and drinking all the time. And I would get drunk and have fun and whatever, I guess, and hang around. And then I'd literally come back to the fraternity house. I'd be throwing up in the sink in the bathroom, and I'd be looking up at the mirror just going, like, why?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? Why, God, am I doing this? Why am I here? What is the point of all of this? Like, I don't want to be doing any of these things that I'm doing, but everyone's doing it, and culture and society is telling me that where I'm at right now is where everyone wants to be.
Yeah, and where you need to be.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of conversations about this, and I mean, I relate as well to your experience. I think most people, honestly, in the Greek life system, when you're younger, you know, there's really no fulfillment in that life. I mean, you're going out all the time. Not saying I had some good times in college, or like looking back, I definitely, struggled with depression and anxiety. I mean, you're going out drinking heavily all the time, sometimes maybe doing some other stuff to supplement the anxiety and other things. And it's kind of a culture of like, the biggest, asshole in the room is the coolest guy.
Because you can't mess
and like,
with him.
treating girls
It's
not
fear-based,
very well. And I mean, it is fear-based, and
it's a one-upmanship, like who can tell the best joke, or who can
smoke the most, or drink the most, or
whip the best insult or whatever it is. It's like everybody is essentially trying to be something that they're not, I think.
Yeah.
And for the most part,
it's been
culture.
It's been really fun for me post college. Like, a lot of people are just completely different people from like our fraternity, and especially guys. I mean, girls, I think sororities, it's not really as focused on drinking, and they aren't even allowed to have alcohol in the sororities and all that. So it's a little more of a camaraderie ship, and you have your close circle and in the fraternity, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely like chaos, and I remember I was so glad to graduate and start working, because it's like I need order and structure,
Right.
which I was severely lacking for 4 years in college.
And it's like, my life like got so much better after college. So if you're in college right now and you're listening to this, like, there's hope, because I mean, my life after college, like, was exponentially better than my life in college, and I thought that college was supposed to be the best 4 years of my life. And so, but the point I really was getting at with all this, how did I become the person who could move from small town Macon, Georgia, Southern University, everyone's doing the same thing. It was out of this kind of petri dish of like adversity and chaos and sadness, incongruency with my beliefs, acting against my beliefs. All of this created this little, like, I don't know, like a little monster inside of me that like was like, dude, I will not stay here.
Yeah.
Like, I'll do whatever it takes. My back's up against a wall now, and I can see so clearly how bad this is. Like, it got so bad.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes you can just exist in the gray area and just kind of coast for the rest of your life. But I knew for sure that this was not what I wanted, and this was not who I wanted to be. And so I wanted to pursue modeling like my sophomore year in college. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, I can't even do this because my fraternity brothers will literally lambast me.
Yeah.
Like, they'll crucify me if I were to just take a step in this direction publicly and be like, hey guys, like, finance is cool, real estate, risk management's sick, but like, I'm actually going to pursue acting and modeling.
Yeah.
Like, I knew the hammer was going to come.
Oh yeah.
Just like it always has.
And I mean, it did, to a certain extent. I mean, I'm still in Atlanta, and look, I mean, there's definitely, when you took that jump and came up to your act, there's a lot of guys that are, talking, a bunch of crap about that.
I say this all the time. I was the
like, oh, he's,
I was the butt of the joke of like every group text, group me, that I think I'd ever been in. You know what I mean? And the reality is, like, guys, I wasn't even doing anything wrong. It's not like I'm getting like was going and getting arrested or like was I was actually just trying to pursue my dreams. Like, I was actually just trying to like take a step out of what what everyone else was doing. And what I realized is, yeah, I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was actually the only one doing something right. And so, but my personality is like, when everyone comes against me like that, I'm like, oh crap, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Like, what did I do? You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Well, it's natural. I mean, that's how we're, raised
myself,
growing up.
yeah.
You want to fit in and, but yeah, no, I think that's great insight. So
I'll tell you a story. So, do you remember, we had a pledge, I think when we were sophomores, we had a pledge named Graham.
Yeah. Graham King.
And, he was shout out, bro. Like, there's like some story going around that like his parents were hippies and they named him Graham after like marijuana because they're like,
Graham of weed.
Smokers,
Graham of weed. Yeah. And Graham, if you listen to this and this is slander or defamation, I'll gladly call me. I'll gladly edit it out and take it off.
We're not proclaiming this is truth.
But maybe this adds to your legend. Maybe you like this story. So I don't know.
There's a rumor going around. So I was so desperate.
Fake news or maybe real news. We'll see.
I was so desperate my sophomore year living in the house to just like take a step towards my dream that I actually got Graham King to drive me. He was a freshman. He was a pledge. I got him to drive me to Atlanta like on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I had him drive me to Atlanta, and I went to one of those goofy like actors and models talent search that you see like on the billboard.
I've never heard this story. Yeah.
So maybe that was just me.
Yeah.
They had these billboards, especially in the South. It's like, become an actor, become a model, whatever. So it was like at the Mall of Georgia or something.
Yeah.
So I got Graham King, freshman, to drive me over there. I did this goofy freaking like runway walk for these people, and like I got to the end of the runway, and I was like, buy the sweaters at Macy's or something stupid, and then I just like walked back, and I had like I had gotten this little picture of me. A friend had taken some professional pictures of me one summer when I went home, so I gave him like my first headshot. And which is basically like your portfolio or your resume for the acting and modeling industry. So I gave him my headshot. I remember leaving there like my whole life's gonna change. Like this is my chance to get out of this shithole that I'm petri dish that I don't want to be in.
Yeah.
And then of course like they don't even call me back. Like they don't even like I didn't even get a follow up or anything. And I'm like, oh man, like I did all of this and took all these risks to like just try and create a better life for myself, get myself out of the situation, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
And it's really embarrassing like when you're the one pursuing it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come back to you. You know what I mean?
So I'm glad you brought that up, and that's one of the main things I like want to harp on in this podcast with people is you can't be afraid to fail, and you can't be afraid to take risks. Right. Everybody that has become successful in this world, like truly successful, has tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed over and over and over again. Albert Einstein, or is it Thomas Edison, had like 1,000 inventions that failed. Yeah. The one you hear about is light bulb, because all you got to do is hit once. Yeah. And, go back to that Steve Harvey quote, you're standing on the ledge in life. You got a parachute on. You're seeing people gliding by. You got to jump. Yeah. You got to jump. And that's, one of the main things. Sorry to cut you off, but continue on, you're with the mindset of Miles Monroe makes great points too. You've got it to change. Mm-hmm. First off, it's like people are like, why can't I get rich and famous? It's like, well, I mean, if you keep doing the same things over and over and over again, I mean, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Like, you got to change if you want your life to change. And I was talking to a buddy about this the other day. He's like, wants to make a career change and loss and all that. I'm like, well, how are you eating? What's your diet? Are you exercising every day? Are you, how much are you drinking? Or, tobacco or whatever, You're not going to find clarity unless you take care of yourself and you change, and start hanging out with different people. And, it's important.
Yeah, it is. It's number one, dude. If you can change, everything can change.
Yeah. And I think most people, what's so frustrating to me in our society, and this is another point of this podcast I want to encourage people to do, most people aim low and hit. You
Right.
know, like I'd
Yeah,
rather
so true.
you got to aim high and miss because you aim low and keep hitting, you're just gonna live an average, semi-miserable life.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's so important. One thing, you know, in a lot of aspects, me and you are completely different, but mindset wise, you know, I'm not interested in acting or fashion. I mean, I have been interested in acting,
Right.
but modeling and, you know, fashion and all that. And part of it's probably I don't look good enough to model. but
Come on,
but I
man.
think
He's a good-looking guy over here.
one of the main things that I really draws me to other people and is drawn, you know, we're both big believers in the law of attraction, and
Yeah.
you know, we really lost touch for what 3 or 4 years out of college, and then just kind of, you know, you sent me a random text a year and a half ago, and just I was watching all these motivational videos, kind of developing this mindset at the same time. Little did I know you were doing the same thing 300 miles away in New York, and we just somehow got connected and have had these conversations. I'm tired right now. I'm trying to remember where I was going with that, but I think the main thing is failure, but also you're chasing your dream, and you've taken the mindset, which is so important, of I don't care what anybody else thinks. At the end of the day, all that matters is if I can go to sleep at night knowing I'm doing me and pursuing my goal and dream. 'Cause, you know, the definition of depression is, you know, most people are depressed because they're not doing what they actually want to do with their life. They're not doing what they're meant to do, and they're not fulfilling their gift and their potential.
Right.
And you're doing it right now.
Yeah, and I'll say this, like, a lot of people are out there not doing what they want to do in life, and that's fine. The problem comes when you're not even trying.
Yeah.
You're not even trying to pursue. You're not even trying to find out. You're not knocking. You're not asking. You're not seeking. And, you know, because there's a period in my life where I was doing what I knew I wasn't going to be doing for the rest of my life, but I knew that what I was doing right then was going to lead me to what I've always wanted to do.
Yep.
And, you know, failure is when you can turn failure into your, like, it's supposed to be your biggest weakness, supposed to be your biggest enemy.
Yeah.
Failure is.
I hate the word failure personally. I use it. I say learning lesson.
Yeah. But it's supposed to be the way that, you know, society has constructed it, especially in the South, man. You do everything you can to not be seen as a failure. You do everything you can to not stand out. And
it's just most of the world. I mean, it's most people.
But when you can turn failure, which is supposed to be your greatest enemy, into your greatest advocate, your whole life will change.
Yeah.
Because the whole definition, the whole concept, it changes completely from this thing that was supposed to harm you to this thing that's supposed to elevate you to the next level, that's supposed to elevate you to your dreams, that's supposed to teach you a lesson that you used to make billions of dollars, millions of dollars, that you take this lesson and you use it to become a greater personal motivator, or a public speaker, or a better accountant, or a better friend or relative, or, you know, husband, whatever you do, if you take failure and you use it as a lesson, as an advocate, then let's say that life is an arbitrary number. Let's just say that life is 60% failure.
Yeah.
And it's 40% success. Okay, well, all right, let's flip it. Let's say that life is 60% success and 40% failure. That means, and as the way that culture defines it, that means that 40% of your life, almost half of your life, you live miserably.
Yeah.
You live feeling like this is pointless, this is meaningless. But if you can take that 40% and change it into something that's not just meaningful, it's like the most meaningful thing.
Yeah.
Then your whole life, 100% of it becomes meaningful.
Yeah.
And you don't have to live 60% happy and 40% sad and miserable. You get to live your whole life grateful, because even that 40% that you were failing and taking L's and, you know, undergoing embarrassment, you can actually change your perspective of that and see it as something that's actually going to create more of that 60% in your life in the future.
Yeah.
And then it becomes incredibly meaningful. You can't live without it.
Yeah. I mean, obstacles in life, most people think, you know, like bad stuff is hurting, you know, it's against you. They happen for you. I mean, God, in my opinion, everything happens for a reason. And anything you go through that's a tough time is meant you're meant to learn from it. I mean, anything that happens, I've had a lot of failures in the past 2 years. I mean, heck, me and Taylor were invested in a truck, bought an 18-wheeler 3 months ago. Freaking disaster. I mean, I haven't had a good night's sleep since I bought it. I'm going to lose a bunch of money on it. But you know what? I learned so much from it. And that's the most important thing. It's like, not this happened, poor me. What happened here? What can I learn from? And now moving forward, I know investments wise, better questions to ask. I know how to put a deal together. I think I learned even more on how to deal with partners and investors and so many learning lessons. I learned a lot about the trucking industry, although I don't I don't really want to do anything with it. But long story short, I mean, I go back to, God in the Bible compares himself to two animals, the eagle and the lion. And eagles, there's a lot of fascinating things about eagles, but one of the most fascinating things is they're the one bird, they fly alone, not in a pack, kind of like we're talking about. They only eat live, fresh prey, new ideas, new things. You got to be constantly, readapting yourself. Vultures eat dead, old stuff, old information, yeah. But one of the most amazing things about eagles is when storms come, most birds fly away or hide under branches and trees when the rain comes. Eagles use those winds to soar to new heights. Yeah. So they use storms in their lives to get better and fly higher. Yeah. And I think that's just a great analogy to I gave the speech for one of my buddies' rehearsal dinner about him, and he's an eagle, and it's important. He's had a lot of obstacles in his life, but he's grown and gotten bigger and better from each one of those.
What you're saying is life is part negative.
Yeah, but I wouldn't even look at it as negative. Like the wording, it's learning. It's obstacles and challenges.
The eagle takes this negative thing,
it
changes its perception of it, and it uses it to fly higher.
Yeah,
but he could never fly higher without the
adversity. Yeah,
and it's the same thing, man. It's like I could never get as far as I've gone.
Yeah.
If I hadn't have overcome the adversity that I have and learned the lessons, I'd never be the person that I am.
Yeah.
And that's just, so when you look at it like that, this thing, negative has a bad connotation.
Yeah.
But that's only created by society and culture.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
We could change our perspective of the little dash mark and see it as, well, yes, it's difficult, it's hard, but in my opinion, that dash mark is even more meaningful than the plus sign.
Yeah.
Because it's the only thing that can get you to those higher heights.
Yeah.
The eagle would never be able to. I would never be able to become the person that I am without it.
Yeah.
So that's another thing you can start to kind of question is like, what do things actually mean? Who decided that negative was a bad thing?
Yeah.
I'm going to say screw that. I'm going to decide for myself if it is or not.
Yeah.
I'm going to change my perspective on it. And the other thing about the Eagles is when they get to a certain age, they actually fly up to the highest, crevice or mountaintop or peak that they can.
Yeah.
And they find a place to settle down, and they're at the end of their lives and they're about to die. Like their beak gets so dull, and their talons and everything, that like they can't actually kill their prey, and they know they're gonna die. So they fly up to this high point, and and Harrison actually sent me this video like 6 months ago or so, and this story has resonated with me since. But so what they do is first they pluck out all their feathers, they rip out their talons with their dull beak, and then they beat their beak on the rock until there's not one left.
It's extremely painful process for them. It takes like 3 months.
They do this to themselves. It takes 3 months. Yeah, they don't eat
3 to
anything.
5.
So they're starving, whatever, dude. Like but at some point the tides turn, and all their feathers grow back, their beak grows back, and they had a new beak, and their talons grow back, and they got new talons, and it's all sharper, better than ever, and they go on to live for 40 more years.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah,
it's like 40 more. Like they're gonna die. Like imagine being on your deathbed.
Yeah,
and then doing something like being like freaking 95 years old, and then doing this process and then going to live for 40 more years. You're 135. Like that's so. This is what eagles do.
You got to reinvent yourself.
They reinvent. They recreate themselves.
They're faced with either you die or you change.
Yeah. And
it's by the way, the whole point there though. Harping on what we talked on, anything worth having in life doesn't come easy, and it's a painful process to get to where they, you got to deal with 3 to 5 months of,
That's right.
hell.
And there might be some of you guys out here, and probably we were the same way in college, listening to this and being like, this is too much. Like, why do y'all want to, why are you even talking about this? Like, you might even be saying like, guys, life's supposed to be easy. Life's supposed to be comfortable. And I used to think the exact same thing. And I was always going after a life of like, I was always pursuing happiness.
Yeah.
And just, I want it to be easy and comfortable. And I just want everything to go well for me.
Yeah.
So in that mindset, I was picking the major that wouldn't challenge me. I was picking the classes that I know I would pass.
Yeah.
I was doing things that I knew I was already good at.
Yeah.
And I just got, after doing that for a few years, and you may be here right now, and this is just my experience, but I felt so empty and bored and just really dead inside pursuing that type of lifestyle. And it drove me to a place where I just wanted to change. I just needed to change.
Yeah.
And so then I took personal responsibility for doing that. I looked myself in the mirror and I was like, Taylor, man, you've made a lot of choices towards the easy way instead of the right way.
Yeah.
And I eat my lunch, dude. I had to face the fact that I cheated in college. And I went against my integrity just because my mindset was to do things easily.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of that. And
it's always easy to do the wrong thing. It's hard to do the right thing. Right. I mean, it really is.
Yeah. And it's never a wrong time to do the right thing either, by the way. So if you're trying to figure out when to start, dude, freaking right now, just do it. And but start making in decisions towards your integrity and your character as a man or a woman, and your life will change. It won't become happier. There won't be more happiness, but I swear to God, there'll be so much. It'll be more meaningful. There'll be so much meaning you won't know what to do with it. And that meaning will drive you to continue to do things that you're not good at. Continue to face challenges, to move to different cities, to keep trying to figure out what your reason is for being here on this earth.
Yeah. If you're waking up every day going to a job that you hate, like if you're waking up every day hitting the alarm clock, miserable, you need to get out of what you're doing. And it's baffling to me, anybody that's working any job every day, you should be getting up thinking, what's the purpose of this? Where am I building towards? And a lot of people don't do that. And I hope people who listen to this will start doing that. And there should be a purpose and plan. And it shouldn't just be, I want to make a bunch of money. It should be, I want to make money because this is going to allow me to do this, this, and this. And we've had a lot of great conversations about that. We had one yesterday. We both are money focused right now. I mean, I think it's important. Everyone has a gift in life.
That's right.
It's your duty to figure out what your gift is. Every living thing has a gift. I mean, the beauty of humans is we actually have free will to pursue and chase and, figure that out. Like animals, you're just born like an ant's going to be an ant. And a bird's going to be a bird, and a bee's going to pollinate flowers, and like they know their gift. That's all they're going to do. But everyone in the world has a gift. You got to figure out what that is, and then give it back to the world, and the world will pay you for it. I mean, there's people that make millions of dollars a year baking pies, or if you listen to the Steve Harvey story about mowing grass, or shithead Steve. I don't know if y'all know him on Instagram. He's one of my buddies. I mean, he makes a ton of money posting memes on Instagram. Yeah. That's his gift. I mean, that's what he's really good at, And a lot of people struggle, with finding that. And a lot of that comes back to taking care of yourself and exercising and all that. But a lot of it goes back to Matthew McConaughey has a great point in his commencement speech. It is really hard to figure out who you are. It is.
It's a struggle, dude.
And
It's the hardest thing you'll ever do.
yeah, I mean, we're still in the process every day.
Yeah,
Everybody's changing. I don't know exactly who I
idea.
am. I'm working
I
on
have no
it.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah. But the easiest way to figure out who you are is to figure out who you aren't.
Yeah.
And those people you're hanging out
with. You
with.
can't do that without failure.
Yeah, but it's also follow your gut. I mean, if there's certain people you're hanging out with, when we were in college, I definitely felt. I'm not trying to bash on everybody, our fraternity, or I don't think either one of us doing that.
Super grateful for
but
those times.
Yeah, and everything happens for a reason. But we both struggled in that environment, and everything happens for a reason. I'm glad I went through it. I grew a lot from it, but kind of what you talked about, to be able to change, you got to hate yourself, who you are, so much.
Yeah.
That you're willing to do it.
That's right.
And if you don't really hate what you're doing, and some people, look, some of y'all love going out and getting,
Blasted,
like
zoinked on the weekends.
Yeah, wasted all weekend, everything. If you like it, great, power to you. Maybe that's, I don't think that's anybody's gift, but I'm not trying to tell you what to do or not to do. I'm just telling you what I think works and has worked for us. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, dude. And that's even with that, it's like, let's say you do want to go out and get wasted on the weekends. Maybe it's all about the intention.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because, dude, there's some really famous, popular, rich people who made all their money because they're social.
Yeah.
And they like
some people like just going out.
Some people just literally love being social so much. It brings them life. They're good at it. They help people have a great time, and it's just what they love to do. Then that's great. But if you're going out to, let's Big Sky every weekend because you just had a tough 9-to-5 week at, Ernst & Young, and you're just trying to go and feel something, then that's probably not the place that you want to go to let your steam off, or you're just doing it selfishly because you need it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And so, yeah, it's all about the intentionality of what you're doing. And there's no really right or wrong, like, up to a certain extent, as long as you're not harming yourself or anyone else. There's a lot of it comes down there. A lot of it comes down to your intention and your purpose behind what you're doing.
Yeah. A man with a goal and a vision lives a very strict life. A really tight life. If I'm getting up on Sunday and I'm doing this, and this, you have a reason not to go out. If you don't really have purpose and dream, it's a lot easier to go out and live a little looser life. And, look, I still, from time to time, will, go out and, have big nights. And nobody's perfect. But, life's all about self-discipline. I mean, that really is the key. Don't eat too much. Don't drink too much. Don't talk too much. It really is about that. And if you can be self-disciplined and stick to a schedule and everything, things, work out for you. So, moral of this point, everyone's got a dream. If you don't really have one anymore right now, it's probably because you got a job that you hate and you're miserable and you're depressed and, you're Ernst & Young. Like, if you're getting up, but if by Friday you need to go out and get hammered to deal with what happened that week, you need to find a new career.
Yeah, correct. And we're not saying quit your job right now. I'm just saying start looking for something else. You can keep your job and work on something part-time while keeping a full-time job. You know what I mean? And do that and just see, like, get to the point where you're like, dude, my goal is to work myself out of this job. I'll do anything I can to find another opportunity to get myself out of the situation that I'm in. And, as you work on that part-time thing, doors are going to open, opportunities are going to come, and eventually you'll know when it's right to make the leap out of that full-time place.
That's a great point. So Taylor, he originally worked at Textron, 6 months?
Yeah, 6 months.
Wasn't for you.
Wasn't for me. So, yeah, I graduated University of Georgia.
Yeah.
Got a great job right out of college, which I didn't have any confidence back then. I was like, yeah, whoever will hire me, I'll go.
Well, that's how our education system, society. It's like
they
you need to get a
follower. They trained me to be a worker.
Get a degree to be employed.
Right. And
you should get a degree to start your own business.
I was sucking up to all these companies. Please hire me. And I found one that did, and this is the other
Great
thing.
job, by the way. I mean,
Yeah,
a lot of
great
people
job.
wanted to work at Textron. This is a hard
Yeah,
program
man.
to get
I was
into.
making over $50K a year right out of college. I had all the benefits. I had the 401K. They paid for my moving costs. I was living in Fort Worth, Texas, which is like the second fastest growing city in the nation.
Gotta watch out for those Texas people, though.
Yeah, you gotta watch out. I love Texas people.
I do too.
For one reason, these people, they like to boast in their failures. They're one of the only cultures that like to just go around and tell people how big they messed it up.
Yeah.
And this was a trend that was started back in the oil tycoon days when they were drilling for oil down there, and because it was just such a freaking Wild West out there, people would go from 0 to a million in a day, and then they go from a million to 0 the next.
Yeah.
And so what wound up, this culture started getting created, and it was like, we don't really care. People started to not really care how big of a success people got.
Yeah.
They wanted to know how many times they failed and still got up and still like invested and still,
Jerry Jones is the epitome of that story.
Man. I mean, and
legend.
This culture, this is so sick. This culture around failure was created where they were actually adoring and worshiping failure.
Really? I didn't even.
So yeah,
it's kind of the culture down there.
Yeah, we'd be like, hey, dude, yeah, like I got $1 million, but dude, let me tell you about this time that I invested into this oil rig and I went under $50,000. You know what I mean? Like it was abysmal. It was terrible. Blah blah blah. And it's almost in a way like to just puff up how far they've come.
Yeah.
Which is like, so they're using it, I'm sure, as some social equity here in conversations to like, just paint the picture of like how much adversity, whatever. But still, that's a sick mindset.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I went to right out of college to work, and this 30,000 plus employee company got the job, and then I got asked to interview for a specialized position in the company. And I wound up beating out 3 other candidates for this like specialized job, and I didn't even know what it was. But I wound up, they had placed me in Kansas at first when I first got into the company, and then they asked me to do this. Extra special whatever interview process, and I did that, and I actually wind up sending me. I got it, and they wound up sending me to Fort Worth, Texas, to work directly for the CIO of this 30,000 plus employee company.
Yeah.
And I was feeling pretty special at that point. I was like, wow, this is, I didn't even expect this of myself. And, obviously, like, so glad I'm living in Fort Worth, Texas, instead of like Topeka, Kansas, or wherever I was going to be. And so I went and I did that. And I just started working. And I remember my first day at work, guys, like, I'm a pretty active guy. Like, even in college, like, I would love playing sports and everything. I remember sitting in the desk from 8 to 5 and coming home, and like just all this information, like I was drinking out of a fire hydrant.
A lot of information you probably didn't even care about or weren't interested in. Yeah.
About flying and shit. I did not care.
Yeah.
I remember getting home and being like, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah.
How am I supposed to do this every day for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
And I mean, like, guys, I had a freaking panic attack. I'd already moved in, like, moved states, moved my whole life over there. And, I was, like, panicking. And I made a decision a few months back, which actually came out of – I remember being in the back of my parents' car. And this was right after graduation. And I was about to move to start this job. And we were driving somewhere at night, and I just started bawling, crying. I mean, just like tears, like I couldn't even snot everything, and I was just weeping. And I was thinking about, because I was thinking about like my past in college and how that whole experience went, and I was thinking about my future, and I just had come to the place where I think I realized, like, man, I need to make some changes. And so through the tears and everything, the only words I could get out was, my parents were like, what's going on? I'm like, only thing I could say was, I'm not the man that I've always been meant to be, but I'm going to start becoming it.
Yeah.
And that day, it was like a spirit of excellence just dropped into my life like that.
Yeah.
And I started to do everything in my life with excellence. The stuff that everyone saw, you know, and the shit that nobody saw or cared about, I did it with excellence. And then the other thing I started doing, I started making every decision towards my character and my integrity as a man. And I took that attitude into Textron and into that company and to that CIO that I worked for. I got 2 awards and a raise while I was there. They asked me to be on like 3 of these special projects that, you know, no one else in my class was getting to do. Obviously getting to meet with like the upper level executive of this company like 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And which was a special, you know, kind of opportunity. And dude, I did everything. Like, I remember the one time they asked me to write this email. And I was like ghostwriting for the CIO. So it was essentially, I was going to type it up for her and she was going to send it out to the rest of the company. And I can't even remember what it was about. It was like some kind of a new thing that was happening in the company. And I wrote this email. It was the most like clear, concise, compelling, funny,
Yeah.
like perfect email you would have ever read in your life.
Yeah.
Ever. And I researched, I went to Google, I was like,
Looked up a bunch of big words
how to write a good email.
Yeah.
I mean, really just, you know, let's get back to basics. How to use comedy to help people retain information.
Yeah.
So in a state of play, you're more likely to retain. So I started researching and figuring out how to do this shit. And I wrote just the best email. I used comedy to, you know, help them understand better what I was saying and actually retain it and apply it.
Yeah.
And I was using psychology and all this stuff. And this is a freaking email.
Yeah.
And I sent it out to her. And usually in the past, she'd had a lot of notes that she would say, well, this needs to be corrected and this and this. This time, she didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And she sent out the email. And she started flying me around to other business units. I went to Providence, Rhode Island. They brought someone else to Fort Worth to meet with. She started flying me around to meet with the upper level executives of this company.
Yeah.
To show off what kind of talent.
Yeah.
Their leadership program was recruiting.
Yeah.
I went and met with the CMO, and by the time I went and met with the CMO, I was already deciding to leave.
Yeah.
And you know.
So walk me through. Basically, that whole, I mean, the job was going great, but it just antagonized your soul. Yeah. Basically, I mean, it wasn't your gift. It wasn't a line. Yeah. You were unhappy.
So I had a voice. I think it's the voice of God that told me it very clearly, and that maybe it was the Holy Spirit. I don't know, but basically, it was like, Taylor. You could be really, really, really good at this, but you'll never be great at it.
Yeah.
And
well, and you'll never be fulfilled by it.
And that was kind of the thing. Is like, you could do this and become the best in the world, but it won't be what you were put on earth to do. Yeah. And that's kind of that's what I felt. And so I knew I had to leave. I knew. But the whole point is, number one, I did such an incredible job working at that company that even if people disagreed with what I believed. Yeah. Because when I left, I was like, hey guys, like, I'm actually gonna go work for a church. Yeah. Like, when I was telling the very corporate company, like, guys, I'm gonna go work for a church. Like, and I didn't care. And
you were going from making $50,000 a year to $15 an hour, right, or $12 an hour.
A year, yeah. Over 50 to 20, but yeah. So even if they disagree with what I believe, because of course I would say I'm going to go serve, and then it'd be like, oh, well, what does that mean? Well, I'm going to go work for a church, and be like, oh, you know, you have a faith, and I tell them about my faith. Yeah. And even if they disagreed with what I believed or what I was saying, they could not disagree with the excellence that I did my job with. Yeah. And the value that I brought.
Well, it sounds like you left that place better than when you arrived there.
And that's the whole point, guys. Like, if you want to create an impact, if you want people to listen to what you have to say, you got to work first. You got to earn it. You got to go and do whatever you're doing with excellence. you got to make every decision towards your character and integrity. You got to do the shit that nobody sees just as good as the shit that everybody sees. And in so doing that, you will have become the person who has earned the right to find out what you're supposed to do on earth.
Yeah.
To figure out, where am I supposed to go that I'll have meaning and purpose. And if you are faithful with the little things, if you're faithful with the small things, the things that no one sees, the things that everyone sees, if you're faithful with the little things, you will be given much more. And so there's a question out there. Hey, you guys, listen, I want to be a great man. Harrison wants to be a great man. We want to reach our fullest potentials in life. We want to be dangerous men. If that's something that you want to do, that's okay. It's okay to be ambitious. It's okay.
It's not for some reason these days. It's not too cool to be ambitious, but it's okay to be ambitious. You should be. Yeah.
That was my biggest
and when you're
critique.
younger, it's not.
Yeah. Like that was my biggest critique coming out of college was like, Taylor's just wanting fame, or he just wants to be famous, or he's going to do modeling. What's that about? Who does he think he is?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like in our culture,
what is your I know what it is, and when you say it, what's your purpose to be an actor, what do you want to use that platform for? What's your motivation? What's your purpose in life?
So my purpose in life is overall, if I put in a sentence, is become
your why?
To become the greatest servant in human history.
Yeah.
And the reason that is because I know that service leads to greatness.
Yeah.
And there's a story out there that is told in the Bible, and Jesus is talking to his disciples, and they're all arguing. I'm gonna sit at his right hand, and I'm gonna run the church, and I'm gonna reach all these people, and I'm gonna be the greatest disciple, and all this. And Jesus hears them bickering, and they're going on. I mean, this is crazy. Like these disciples are savages, dude. They get to the point where there's some twins.
Yeah.
Jesus had recruited some twins to come out and run house with him, and they went and got their mom, and they brought their mom back to Jesus, and they're like, mom, go talk to him. And she's like, using her mom powers, and she's like, my sons, I love them so much, like, would you just allow them, when you ascend into heaven, would you just please let them sit at your right and left hand on your throne? You know what I mean? Like this is how bad these guys are thirsty for power, bro. They're thirsty for status. They're thirsty for greatness. And Jesus comes, and instead of correcting them and going, "Hey guys, you're too ambitious. You're wanting too much. You're getting a full whatever. You're going." He says, "No, that actually, guys, that's all okay." He says, "But who among you wants to be great?" And they all shoot their hand up.
Yeah.
And he says, all right, if you want to be great, you need to learn how to serve.
Yeah.
Serve the many. So the equation goes, service to many equals greatness. And this is something that I talk about a lot. So let's think of if you're a Christian or if you're religious or whatever, let's think about who are some big pastors like Andy Stanley, Carl Lentz,
Miles Monroe. I don't know if
Miles
anybody
Monroe,
knows
whoever.
him. I love Miles.
Why is Jeff Bezos?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take him for example. Why is Jeff Bezos more popular? Why does his name get more headlines? Why does he have more money? Why does he give more money away? Why does he help? Literally, Jeff Bezos, the impact that he's had on our world, and the service that he's given, the charity and all the money he's given back is more than any pastor combined.
Yeah, well, he's also got a lot more to give, but
that's my
a
point.
lot more.
So service to many leads to greatness. The reason why Jeff Bezos has so much more greatness than these Christian people or whoever, I mean, we're just using that as an example, is because he's figured out how to serve more people.
Yeah.
He's become the person who's been able to serve more people. And he
with Amazon,
with
yeah.
Amazon, because if you think
everybody
about how
uses Amazon.
started, Jeff Bezos, by the way, is the CEO of Amazon. So if you think about how Amazon started, he was selling books.
Yeah.
And he was connecting people with knowledge and information, which they could then choose to turn into wisdom if they wanted to apply it. And he gave so many opportunities into so many people that they began to just, thank him for it.
Yeah.
How did they thank him? With money.
Yeah.
And so if you want to be great, figure out how to serve the many. The more people you can serve and have an impact on, the greater you will become. That is the equation that I figured out for greatness. And so that's what I want to do in my life. I want to figure out how I can become the best person that I can be, not so that I can, pat myself on the back or whatever, but so that I can serve more people. Like, my heart is for service. So why I'm doing modeling and acting, why I'm taking this hard road, it's because I want to inspire people and show them that they have a gift and a dream too, and that it's possible that they could reach their fullest potential and live out every dream they've ever had. That's what I want to do. I want to help other people reach their fullest potential in life by reaching mine.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, in the core of what you're saying, figure out your gift, hone in on that gift, and the world will pay you for that gift because you're giving it to them. That's that your value is what you're giving to other people. In the words of Denzel Washington, the most selfish thing you can do in life is help somebody else, because the feeling you get when you help somebody else is the greatest feeling in the world. So, a couple other main questions. So you got done with, just want to make sure we get your whole story in here. So you got done with Textron, 6-7 months?
6-7 months.
When worked at Passion?
6 months. Yeah, when worked at a huge movement in Atlanta called Passion City Church, who also does a Passion Conference, which is that's the 65,000 college students in Atlanta. It was in the Mercedes-Benz Dome this past year.
Yeah.
And so I went and worked for the conference as well.
Yeah.
After I worked for the church.
Yeah. And that was something obviously is your passion, but you, realized with that probably wasn't the best outlet for your gift at the time, I'm assuming.
So when I was in Textron, I made it very logical, and I was I had done some mission trips to Haiti, to some Haitian refugee camps, and the happiest times of my life were when I was serving at those camps.
Yeah.
So I very logically went, okay, if the times that I'm the happiest and feel the most meaning in my life is when I'm serving, then why wouldn't I do that full time? Why wouldn't I do that with my whole life? And so that led me to go, okay, well then I'm gonna pursue a job in ministry. And at the same time, I was also pursuing modeling still.
Okay.
From sophomore year to graduation, 4 years.
I didn't know. So were you pursuing it that whole time period?
I've been pursuing
on and off.
Yeah, on and off. And
I didn't know. I thought you just decided after basically when you were at Passion that you want to pursue it. So I didn't realize it was probably try and fail kind of thing. Yeah. That's why you listen to the podcast, people.
Yeah, I've gone through so much trial and error with modeling, and I could go on for a long time talking about it, but
I'm really glad that you've told that though, because everyone that's listening, you're gonna fail multiple times trying to stuff out,
even at your dream.
Yeah,
at your dream.
If you're not failing, you are not trying. You were doing something wrong.
I used to think that once you figured out what your dream is and you started pursuing it, everything was just supposed to work out for you.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, that's not the case. It doesn't stop there. It's hard enough to figure out what the hell you're supposed to do, and then you actually figure it out and you start doing it, and you're met with even more adversity. It is a pride-swallowing siege that I'll never fully be able to tell you about. You're just gonna have to experience it for yourself. So. Reaching success in your destiny. Les Brown says it great. I know you watched it. It's like running a marathon. Everyone, when you're starting, chasing your dream and be a model. Yeah. When you're starting off, you're starting a race, it's great. You got all the energy, you're going, right. And then a mile or two in, you just hit that wall, and then it's you're dealing with a bunch of shit for 70% of the race. Right.
It's the tough.
Yeah.
like, oh man,
That's
like the
right.
middle
It's so
of it,
true,
like,
bro.
and then finally you get, towards, I don't know, 3/4 of the way, or once you're deep in,
Yeah.
you finally hit that runner's high,
That is so true.
and then it's like I don't even want to stop,
That's so true.
Yeah, and you're just gliding through life,
Yeah.
but it's tough to get there.
It's tough. And so I was doing that. I figured out, I wanted to do that to serve. And oh, guys, like I remember also pursuing modeling. I was talking. Some girl on Facebook had scouted me, and she had connected me with one of the major agencies here in New York called Soul Modeling Agency. I was in an empty office at Techstrom. I had closed the door. I pulled a file cabinet in front of the door because you couldn't lock it. I pulled a file cabinet in front of the door, blockaded the door, and had my laptop.
Yeah.
I was in my business professional clothes. I took my clothes off and was standing there in my underwear.
Yeah.
On a Skype call for this modeling agency because like they need it, like if they're gonna put all this money into you and when they gotta see you without your shirt off.
It's a tough industry being judged on how you look and everything.
That's a whole nother story.
And one other question was sorry to cut you off with this.
No worries.
What are your, just so people, if there's inspiring models on here, people are just curious, what do you do to keep yourself in shape? I mean, diet, I know you eat pretty healthy. Touch on that real quick, and then exercise, I'm sure.
So for me, I can just speak to my experience. I started off with like portion control when it comes to diet. Like it was gonna be too hard for me to figure out how to just change everything that I had eaten for the past 20-some years of my life.
Yeah. So basically, just don't eat too much.
So I basically, the concept that I use is like instead of eating the foot long at Subway, I would just eat the 6-inch.
Yeah.
And I would apply that concept, that mentality to all of my meals.
Yeah.
So I was basically just eating, a half or 3/4 of everything that I ate, and I would just leave it. I'd throw it away.
But you'd basically just eat until you were full, and then it's like.
Well, if I ate till yeah.
You just weren't. The way we're raised is like you're gonna eat everything on your plate, even if you're.
To eat everything on my plate.
Yeah,
and
which is
now,
stupid.
Waste the food.
Yeah.
Like, don't be an idiot and then like, oh, they're starving kids. No, dude, take care of your body. Like, be a better person.
Yeah.
And then you can go help. Lose some weight, and then maybe you can get on a plane and go to Africa and actually help somebody. You know what I mean? Like. Anyway, waste the food, and I did that. The other thing, a great mentality to take with exercise is start as small as you can. Create micro goals. Create a goal so lame and so small that it's impossible for you to fuck it up. Like, if you haven't worked out in 2 weeks, or in 6 months, or in 4 years, you're never gonna wake up one day and work out like someone who's been doing it for 16 years.
Yeah.
So stop following all these a-holes on Instagram with their, fitness blogs and their fitness routines. Like, dude, wake up every morning and do 10 push-ups. How about that? Can you even do that? Probably not.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that if you haven't been exercising, you couldn't even wake up in the morning and do 10 push-ups every day for 2 weeks. Get to the place where you can do that. Be like, all right, this week, 7 days, I'm going to wake up and do 10 push-ups 3 out of the 7 days this week.
Yeah.
And then next week, do it for 4. And then next week, do it for 5. And then once you get to the place where you can do that consistently, then start adding on to that.
Yeah. So going back to the original question, so you portion control, and you're basically like paleo diet, or like, are you vegan /
Yeah, so that's the other thing is I'm not anything right now, but I'm trying to be more plant-based. So like, I'll eat. So instead of waking up one day and being like, yeah, I'm a vegan, I'm just going to eat, which I'd maybe like to be.
Yeah.
I knew that's not practical.
Yeah.
Your brain is hardwired. You hardwire your brain with your unconscious behavior.
Yeah.
And you can't just wake up one day out of the blue off of a conscious decision and rewire that whole way of thinking that you have, programmed yourself with for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. But you can change your direction. In a moment, you can change your direction, which will eventually change your destination. See, that's what we do so much of is like we try to change our destination overnight when we should just be changing our direction.
Yeah.
You know, the direction we can make a decision and change. And over years or months, we could get to a new destination.
Yeah.
But we can't wake up and just go whatever. So anyway, yeah. So
Then,
I wanted to change my direction with food.
yeah.
And so now I started off eating plant-based 1 or 2 days a week, plant-based diet. Now I eat, that was maybe a few months ago. Now I eat it like 3, 4, 5 times a week. I eat plant-based.
Yeah.
And it started off with doing it once a week.
Yeah.
Same with how I ran a marathon. I started off last winter running 15 minutes every morning.
Yeah.
I'd go in the gym. I'd run 15 minutes. Sometimes but that was my only requirement. That's the only thing I allowed myself to do.
Yeah.
And then I freaking left and went and took a cold shower and started my day. And I want to run for 20 minutes. No, because I need to prove to myself that I can run for 15 minutes, every day for the rest of this week. And then I'll run 20. Yeah. And then I'll have earned the right. So I did that for a long time. And the next thing you know, spring comes and it's nice outside. And I start running a little bit longer. And then summer comes and I start running a little bit longer. And then by October of this past year, just a few months ago, I ran a freaking marathon. And I did it under 4 hours.
Wow.
And it all started with me running 15 minutes a day.
Yeah. So right now you'd say you work out every day, obviously stricter diet. And then, you work out every day, you'd say?
No, I don't. I don't work out every day.
Okay.
There's 7 days in a week.
Yeah.
I probably work out 3 to 6 days a week.
Half cardio, half.
I do a lot of cardio. I do a lot of HIIT training.
HIIT training mean like UFC?
High intensity interval training. So that's just like that's just where you don't take a lot of breaks in between.
Yeah.
Workouts.
Heart rate's constantly high.
Yeah. And then I also do a lot of group fitness classes, which are great.
We did one yesterday morning.
So yeah, I mean, listen, but it's all about, you got to figure out what you can do on your own and what you can do every day. And you got to ask yourself, what can I do today that will make me want to come back and do this tomorrow?
Yeah.
Because consistency is so much more important than any other strategy. Like, it's just do something small, but do it consistently, and then eventually you'll start adding on to it, and it'll change your whole life. But, you got to start small, and you got to ask yourself, instead of how can I inflict the most pain and the most, how can I go the hardest today? Ask yourself, how can I be faithful with something small today so that I can do something greater tomorrow?
Yeah. Awesome. So last question I've got would be, I asked everybody this. If you could, what would be the advice you would give to someone in college and high school, younger than us, right, or just anybody that's not yet pursued their dream and is kind of on the border and the fence, kind of the spot you're at with Textron, like, I hate what I'm doing, this is what I really want to do, as well as to your younger self, kind of both.
So what would I ask, or what advice would I give to me in college, or just someone in college? I guess same thing.
Same thing.
And myself as a
you go back to, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
I'm going to do this. I'm going to let you answer the question first while I go take a pee.
Well,
and then I'll come back and answer it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Harrison's going to take this over. Y'all listen up.
Yeah, okay.
Put him on the spot.
Yeah, well, I think, I'll just kind of recap. I'll let Taylor answer when he gets back. But I'll kind of recap, like, what I think is most important about this conversation and his story is, he, like most people, he was a star athlete in high school. He was in a good fraternity at Georgia, had a lot of friends, but he wasn't really being true to who he wanted to be. And it took a lot of gut and, like, risk to kind of step on that ledge and go to New York and take the risk he's done with modeling. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows. I think he definitely still has his ups and downs. And, still has struggles and still hasn't fully arrived where he wants to be. Um, but the whole point is he's taking the risk and he's trying and he's working on it. And I think feel fully confident things are going to continue to work out for him. But it's the habits. A lot of people say success is lucky, and it's really not. I mean, it's very predictable. It's about the people you surround yourself with. It's about the way you treat your body, the things you're doing to learn and constantly get better, and the mindset. Another great example, I mean, a lion is the other thing that God compares himself to the other animal. And if you study lions, I mean, they're the king of the jungle, king of the animal kingdom besides humans. And the most fascinating thing about lions is they're not the fastest animal. Cheetahs and leopards and all those other animals are. They're not the smartest. Snakes, and I think monkeys are smarter. And they're not the biggest. I mean, elephants are a lot bigger. You've got, sure, I think oxes, and there's other animals that are a lot bigger than lions. So why are they the king of the jungle? Well, it's mindset, and I think that's just extremely important. And I think Taylor exemplifies the lion's mindset. So if you want to answer it now, he just got back. What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
Okay, cool. So I got a few things. Like number one, follow your dreams. Pursue your dreams. Do not pursue what is easy. Do not pursue what is safe. Pursue and ask for adventure. Your parents and the people in your society are going to lead you to do things that are the least amount of risk while still giving you the most amount of benefit. And I would just say, like, don't become a follower. Be a student. There's some people out there, like, for example, the people who started Ernst & Young or Coca-Cola or, Progressive car insurance or whatever. Like, these people were doing things. They were taking massive amount of risk. And all these companies that you guys want to go work for, Delta, KPMG, Chase, JP Morgan, whatever you want to do, McKinsey, like marketing, like whatever you want to do, the people who created your company that you want to go work for, they weren't followers. And in fact, they probably would have never gone and worked for someone else like that to just be another cog in the wheel. And so I guess, like, if there's some people out there maybe who are doing that and that's their dream and that's their passion and that's fine, but ask and question yourself, like, why am I doing the things that I want to do? And when you're 18 or even when you're a kid, like, just because, like, for example, when I was a kid, like, I wanted to be the greatest professional football player to ever live. That didn't work out for me. That's not a reason for me to not pursue or try and figure out what my new dream is. And that's the other thing. Like, well, I don't have a dream. Well, just figure it out.
Do the Matthew McConaughey method of finding just figure out what you're not,
Yeah.
and you'll figure out what you are.
Try and figure it out. Fail. Try a bunch of different things and figure out what you don't like, and you'll just get closer and closer to what you do. And then ask, what should I do? And even if you do get one of those jobs, do that with excellence, but work harder on yourself than you do at that job that you get. Work harder on that self than you do at your job. Because the reality is, guys, and this is true for any arena, the money that you make will never be because of how hard you worked or the fact that you were there at 6 a.m. and you were the last one to leave the office. The money that you make will always be in direct proportion to the value that you bring to that company. If you can become a person who can add 5 days of value in 3 days of work for your company, then you don't need to work those other 2 days. If you can figure out if you work harder on yourself, you can actually figure out how to bring more value to your company, and you won't have to do as much work. You know what I mean? So that's a huge lesson. And then like even as I sit here and I like tell you guys all this stuff, you guys got to remember like these are our opinions, and everything that we've said to you ultimately is not truth. These are our opinions, and these are our experiences, and they have worked really well for us. And
we both still are not even near where we want to be,
not
you know.
close.
And so it's not like our lives are perfect and we're just killing it. But I think.
But we have figured some stuff out, and so that being said, I want you guys to think and decide for yourself about what's true. Question everything I say. Question all the advice that I've given, and don't be a follower. There's no movement for you to join here. You know what I mean? We're not here seeking disciples right now. You know what I mean? We're just here sharing our experiences and our opinions that have helped us so much, and that we want so bad just to offer to you to see if they could be helpful to you, and that you could take and improve your life and improve the lives of people around you. And so take advice, don't take orders. Take information, but don't let someone order your life around. Anyone, your boss, don't let someone else decide how much money you make. Don't let someone else decide where you're going to live. You make those decisions. And, you know, ultimately,
Don't let your parents make those decisions either.
Unless you're under 18. If you're under 18, then shut up and do what your parents tell you. You know what I mean? Honor your parents. You can question everything that they say too, but if you're 18 and you're living under their roof and whatever, you know, you got to listen to them, and you do have to take orders from them somewhat, because you know that's just how it works. But once you turn 18, cut it off. You know what I mean? But yeah, make sure what you do ultimately in your life is the product of your own conclusion. Okay? Not what someone else said, not what someone else told you. That's the biggest gift that I could give, I think, to anyone is, you know, take what I say, take what Harrison says, take what anyone says, process it, ponder it, and if it makes you think, then it's valuable. And then when you go to take action, make sure that the action is a product of your own conclusion. Is that cool? Does that make sense? Like, think and decide for yourself about what is true. Question it. And don't let other people control and dictate the decisions that you make in your life. Consider what they say, even your teachers, even your pastors, even the presidents, even the leaders, even people you really look up to. They should not be telling you how to live your life, because the way that they got to the place that they are right now, and the way they became that person who you want to become, is by listening to themselves and deciding what they think's true. And when you do that, like, guys, I'm telling you, it's gonna move mountains. And then the final thing that I just would like to share is a message on faith. There's really two ways you can live your life, and even two ways where there's always two components that come into every decision of life. It's either faith or fear. And you can live a life based on fear, and that kind of looks like, oh, I would do this, but I don't want to because of what other people might say or think about me. And if you live a life like that, like all the time for 15 years, like, dude, you're going to create a pretty like average reality for yourself. But if you make a decision to let faith rule your life and let faith rule your choices, in 15 years, and I'm not saying it's gonna be like, you know, right off the bat it's gonna be a huge change, but like, you do that for 5 years, I'm telling you, you're gonna live a life that other people are envious of. And you're going to be living a life of incredible meaning, and you're going to be living a life of unlimited potential. And so what's faith? Well, I had to learn this the hard way, and it comes from a verse, like a scripture. It says, It's talking about Abraham, and everyone's trying to figure out, like, Father Abraham. Yeah, man, you know that guy. So everyone's trying to figure out, like, why this guy was so great. And for some of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, like, Abraham was, like, the father of many nations. Like, he was basically the guy who God did the most work through of, like, anyone in his generation. Like, God was like, yo, this guy, I'm going to give him my power, my blessing, my anointing, and I'm going to let him just wreak havoc when it comes to my plans on earth. And everyone's trying to figure out, like, well, dude, how did Abraham become that guy? Like, what made him so special? So it says in this verse, it says, he is our example and father. For in God's presence, so that's one place, in God's presence, he believed that God can raise the dead and call into being things that don't even exist yet. All right? So, number one, holy crap, like, you actually, like, what, this guy, he actually believed that God can raise the dead and call into being things that don't exist yet. But he was doing it while he was in God's presence, right? Which was kind of easy. It's like, you know, when things are going easy, it's easy to be happy. But then that's not where the verse ends. It says in 18, he says, against all odds. And when it looked hopeless, which I've been many times in my life, Abraham believed the promise and expected God to fulfill it. He took God at his word, and as a result, he became the father of many nations. And so, guys, like, you can have faith in heaven, in God's presence, and it's easy to believe, but I'm telling you, you will achieve greatness when you start to have faith in hell. When you start to have faith when everything is hopeless, when everything has turned against you, when the dream that you have finally figured out how to pursue looks like it's not going to work out. You have faith before the evidence gets there. You have faith before logic and reason show up. You have faith when it seems crazy to have faith, and you will become an incredible person. You will become a great leader. You'll make your parents proud. You'll make your school proud, you know, and that's what I want for you. So have faith no matter what. Have faith when you're in heaven, but really, like, when it really counts, have faith when there's no hope, when you're in hell.
I think that's great advice. Well, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode with Taylor. And, you know, maybe y'all think we're full of it. Whatever, that's fine. I hope you gained something from it. So, appreciate it, and I will see y'all next week.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't know you, but I love you.